Yeah, my name is Tim Healey. I'm an infant and child development specialist. I work with high-risk children from birth actually to about 18 years of age. We are surrounded by inflammation, whether it be from environmental pesticides, to the inflammation that occurs from everyday stressors, to the stresses of medicines that we take, chronic inflammation. And that chronic inflammation causes productions of things that damage our nervous system, that damage the brain, that damage the body, that literally are cytotoxic to every aspect of our system. Think of inflammation like of our joints, and that would clearly be a use for MOXXOR. But then the inflammation from the joints cause you to walk differently. Then your striated muscles may become inflamed. Then it puts more stress on your heart. Then you become more acidic and your enzymes don't react appropriately. And all of a sudden your kidneys are working overtime. And in a model of normalcy, it's to put the brain and the body in the best system of homeostasis to be healthy. And that's critical. This little boy was playing sports, taking taekwondo, was playing basketball. All of those, which are great things to do, they take a toll on the body. There's an inflammation from that. And being able to use something such as MOXXOR to diminish the inflammation in certain parts of the body automatically allow the pH of the body to react normally, the enzymes to convert normally, the fatigue to be diminished, and that's how we're looking for the tics to dissipate, by just really getting the body to function in its normal capacity. It's an inverse ratio which we need with the omega-3s, and the reason for that is their ability to permeate into the cells, because they can permeate as phospholipids. Now when they permeate into the cells, it opens the door for example, if someone's depleted and in energy, it opens the door of the cells to get to the mitochondria of the cell. If an individual is building up lactic acid, for example, that can actually damage. But if you have permeability into the cells, it'll open it up, redistribute the lactic acid. We get rid of the toxins through our system. And it's the omega-3s and the way they're vertically aligned that allow that permeability. And I think that's probably one of the most important aspects, because you can always use numbers and say, this is strong, but it's the permeability into the cells that make it so important. Example is a little girl that came in that she couldn't be touched or handled. She literally would have rage responses, 3, 4, 5 hours. Parents would have to drive her around. If it was a windy day, for example, if she made too much eye contact, everything in the environment acted as a stimulus. She had no filter mechanism. And one of the things we wanted to do is help the building blocks of that filter. And that's a neurotransmitter called GABA. And it only will build and take in calcium if you have appropriate permeability. So we used that as a pathway to then start working with her on tolerating touch, movement, light sources. We changed moving from lenses to lighter and lighter and lighter. And it's a child now that's could not be doing better. But if we used a model of pathology, we would have made a diagnosis inappropriately. We would have treated it inappropriately, when our goal was just to bring the body into homeostasis. If I had to say one thing that's epidemic with our children right now, it's the amount of stress that they're under. The schools are more stressful. The academics are more stressful. The test taking, getting into college, sports can be tremendous, long as they're for camaraderie, friendship, and the appropriate things. But they're too stressful. So we have to keep bringing the body back into natural states. Homeostasis is balance. It's the key to where we want to be. For example, if we're talking to a child, and a lot of times we see this with children, a parent will come to me and say, I've been over this 1,000 times with my child, but the behavior continues. And I'll say, well, when do you go over it with them? Well, right after the behavior. Well, the child's arousal system is so triggered. They trigger cortisol. As soon as they do that, the body's in fight or flight. They reroute language. When we're just stressed and we can't shut down our mind and we're thinking about something, that's an inflammatory process. To get that to shut down, we have to be able to come back into homeostasis. And to do that, there has to be the permeability of the omega. And that's where MOXXOR has been so beneficial. A very good friend of mine had a child that had lots of complications, and they thought was having seizures, and she asked if I thought that this would be a good product, and I researched several months and felt that not only was it pristine and pure, but I'm a big believer on the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant component. But I also have seizure disorder, and when I have seizures, there's a period of time after seizures, it's called postictal, where you're disorganized, you're lethargic. And one of the things I noticed with me in using MOXXOR, that time decreased dramatically. And so I told her I thought that this would be extremely good. Then by necessity, I had 5 spinal surgeries, severe, have titanium all throughout my body. And when my body gets depleted, unbalanced, literally my body rejects the titanium. And my pain was horrific. And I had taken every anti-inflammatory that you could take. I was on to the stronger medications, and I was constantly depleted. If I took enough to stop the pain, I'd be sedated. And I couldn't live a life like that. So I started the MOXXOR. And it was interesting because that was post-meningitis. I had meningitis. And that first 2 weeks post-meningitis, I could walk about 100 yards. In 6 weeks, I was back walking 5 to 6 miles with my dog in the hills. And I looked at my blood work, and the first thing I noticed was my cholesterol, triglycerides had dropped. My antibodies had dropped to thyroid. My body wasn't having to work so hard just to survive. I would say 95% of the children that I have that are using MOXXOR, their parents are using it also, because they see the benefits, the tremendous benefits they get. Parenting's the greatest thing in the world, but it's fatiguing, it's stressful, and it's really helped them a great deal. A child had an injury at birth where the muscles and the nerves get stretched underneath the arm. It's called a brachial plexus injury. And that nerve has a covering over it. The covering's called myelin. That's what allows conduction time to improve, the more covering you have. And that was damaged, and tremendous inflammation around that area. We used MOXXOR with the child. We just put it in warm water, put it in this formula, and we watched the recovery rate. Myelin usually recovers at about 1 centimeter per month. And this child had a paralysis of the left arm involving 3 different levels of the neck. And within 4 months, the child had tremendous return. And there's great science behind its ability to help promote myelin, because myelin will not promote in a non-homeostatic environment. MOXXOR differs, one, because it's so pristine and pure. I work with obstetricians and perinatologists where moms take it during their pregnancy. And we've always known, and they wanted to eat salmon, but we were afraid of the mercury. MOXXOR, we know, does not have any impurities. So from that standpoint, that's a huge difference. The second is the ratio. It doesn't have filler in it. It is a true anti-inflammatory. And the big factor that people forget is when there's inflammation, we trigger those unstable electrons, which are known as free radicals. They cause oxidative stress. If you don't have an antioxidant, you don't have a way of getting it back through the circulatory system, out your lymphatic system, through your kidneys, and get rid of them. And that's kind of what I mean by it's the only one out there that restores the body to homeostasis.